The first trucks loaded with medicine, fuel, and gas began entering the Gaza Strip at noon on Friday through the Rafah land crossing as part of the truce agreed with the Israeli state. In France, activists protested violence against women in Paris, calling on President Emmanuel Macron to support a bill that pushes to make consent central to the legal definition of rape or sexual assault. And the leader of Niger's ruling military junta National Council, General Omar Tiani, met on Thursday with his counterparts from Mali and Burkina Faso in his first international visits since he took the presidency in July. Hello, welcome to From the South. My name is Belén de los Santos, and from the TeleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba, we begin with the news. The first trucks loaded with medicine, fuel, and gas began to enter the Gaza Strip at noon on Friday through the Rafah land crossing. This is part of the aid to be delivered at the beginning of the truce agreed with the Israeli state. According to the Egyptian Al Qira TV News, a first convoy of 60 trucks crossed the border crossing on the first day of the truce. The director of the information service, Dia Rashwan, who acts as a spokesperson for the Egyptian government, stated on Friday that 130,000 liters of fuel and 4 trucks of gas from Egypt will enter Gaza Strip daily, as well as 200 trucks of humanitarian aid. In addition, Egypt will continue to receive groups of injured children from Gaza for treatment in the country. And in this context, thousands of Gazans returned to their homes from various places where they sought shelter from the bombardments. A long caravan of vehicles is moving through the streets of Khan Yunis, one of the main cities in southern Gaza. They are internally displaced people returning to their homes with the few belongings they were able to take with them in an attempt to return to some semblance of normality during the 4-day ceasefire that began on Friday. However, Israeli warplanes flew over southern Gaza, dropping leaflets warning people not to return to the north. And we are now going to Palestine with our correspondent in Gaza, Huda Hegazi, in the framework of the Humanitarian Truce. She is in the southern area, which is occupied by the occupation army claims to be a safe area free of attacks. Huda Hegazi will give us the details about all that she and her work team has been able to see on her first visit to South Gaza after the proclamation of the truce.
I am in the west of the Gaza Strip, specifically in the Husar district, which is located in the governorate of Khan Yunis. At this moment, I am in a street that, as we can see, is completely destroyed due to the Israeli air bombardment. Not a single house has been left standing. As we can see, everything is completely devastated. The houses, the streets. Everything is completely destroyed. Israel has not left a single house standing. As we are seeing, even the streets has become inaccessible due to the great destruction, due to the ruins, to the stones of these houses that were destroyed by the Israeli bombing. Supposedly, this is the southern zone, as the occupying army claimed that it was a safe area that was not going to bomb it. But as we can see, everything is a lie. Israel, as we are seeing, has bombed everything, has left nothing in place, has destroyed homes, has killed people. Overall, they devastated everything in this area, and as I said, the Israeli army claimed that it was a safe area and had ordered the Gazati population that is in the north of the Gaza Strip to evacuate to the southern area. But as we are seeing, has proceeded to destroy and demolish completely. Crimes that these people, after the proclamation of the truce and going out and seeing all this destruction, have been shocked and surprised, because it is not the same to hear that an area has been destroyed than to see with your own eyes even we are the first time that after the proclamation of the truce, we have gone out to see these streets and we have seen with our own eyes the destruction that has been caused by Israel. What we are seeing through our screens is a huge destruction. Israel has proceeded to destroy everything in the Gaza Strip.
And the United Nations expects the 4-day truce agreement will lead to a longer-term humanitarian ceasefire. Also, the organization continues to demand access to all of Gaza for humanitarian purposes.
That this humanitarian pause leads to a longer-term humanitarian ceasefire for the benefit of the people of Gaza, Israel, and beyond. We have said consistently that we need access across the Gaza Strip, especially in the north. That's where the damage and the humanitarian needs are the greatest. So we continue to call for access to reach all parts of Gaza.
And the Palestinian resistance, Hamas, agreed to a humanitarian truce in Gaza Strip with the occupying Zionist entity for 4 days, a temporary ceasefire that went into effect on Friday morning and which the Palestinians hope will turn into a total and permanent end to the war. See the details in the following report by our correspondent, Hisham Wanous.
In addition to halting shelling, military actions, the movement of military vehicles and arrests, the agreement stipulates the exchange of 50 captured Israeli with 150 Palestinian prisoners in Israeli jails and demands that the occupation troops allow, during the truce period, the free movement of Gaza's neighbors and the entry every day into the Strip of 204 trucks of humanitarian aid, including medical supplies and fuel, an agreement that the Hamas movement affirms seeks to serve the Palestinian people and to reinforce their tenacity in the face of Zionist aggression. Negotiations will continue over the remaining Israeli military hostages in the hands of the resistance, who will not be released before they set free all Palestinian prisoners in the occupation jails. We continue to work to achieve that goal and continue the struggle against the occupation troops that for more than a month and a half have been shelling the Gaza Strip, thinking that they can release their hostages without exchanging them. But they will not succeed. That's why we consider that the agreement reached is a victory of the resistance and of our Palestinian people. Before the expected implementation of this agreement, the Israeli forces intensified their shelling of all the governorates and neighborhoods of Gaza. Despite Arab, regional, and international calls for a complete stop to the attacks, the Israeli Prime Minister and his cabinet promised to resume with much more force after the end of the truce, they claim, in order to put an end to Hamas and release all the hostages.
The Zionist occupation entity, once the truce is over, will return to its war of extermination against our brothers in Gaza, and therefore we consider that the truce is positive in its humanitarian dimension, but we do not accept it in the political aspect, and therefore the Palestinian resistance will continue to fight against the enemy that seeks to achieve a victory in Gaza after the defeat it suffered on October 7th at the hands of Palestinian fighters, but it will not be able to reach any achievement that will erase this victory of the resistance and our people.
The Palestinian resistance fighters, for their part, have not ceased to respond to the Israeli bombardment and to confront the occupying troops. The resistance fighters, although committed to abide by the truce for the benefit of the peoples of Gaza, assure that their fingers will remain on the triggers and their battalions will remain on the lookout.
Hisham Wanous, TeleSUR, Oriente Medio.
Let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at TeleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates, and more. Other stories coming up, stay with us. Welcome back. In Panama, dozens of people remain in vigil on early Friday morning in front of the building of the Supreme Court of Justice, on a day when the High Court starts a permanent session to sort out the claims of unconstitutionality of the Mining Law 406. Panamanians are expecting the sentence on the unconstitutionality of Law 406 request, by which the executive made the concession of the Donoso mine to the First Quantum multinational for a 20-year term. Over 100 people from different organizations have been waiting in front of the foremost court in Panama since November 30th. A country that has been paralyzed for over a month due to the massive and continuous riots and blockades that have been replicated across the country against mining in Panama. Venezuela is on its way to develop its 7th consultative referendum and 30th electoral event in 25 years, that is, since the inauguration of President Hugo Chavez. Let's take a look at the details.
Organizations of the Venezuelan society gathered at the headquarters of the National Electoral Council to give their support to the referendum for the Essequibo. They make up unions, political parties, and groups of different affiliations, such as these rockers and these public officials who share songs about the Essequibo.
We are being consulted, as every organized community is, from business people, government, and opposition parties, to artists, movements, and people's power, to decide on the actions to resolve our most important border issue, our Guyana Essequibo.
The activists refer to a legal mechanism that, despite its constitutionality, was protested by Guyana before the Court of Justice of The Hague to prevent its realization.
For more than 130 years, during which Venezuelan men and women have been persistently and perseveringly fighting for our territory of the Guyana Essequibo, there has never ever been a national consultation for the popular vote to decide the vital issues of the struggle for the recovery of the Guyana Essequibo.
Opposition spokespersons agree with the Consultative Republic of Guyana on criticizing the referendum under the argument that sovereignty is not consulted. This is a stance confronted by other opponents who, putting aside their differences with the government, will take part in the referendum.
And why would somebody be so much bothered with asking Venezuelans if they agree or not to defend their territory? Why would somebody be so much bothered by that? I'm always suspicious of those who say that the consultation is no good. I always find it suspicious, because they are the same ones who called for abstention.
We need to understand that there is a difference between the government and the state. The interest in the Essequibo is not of one government, it is the republic's. The republic is defended by the state, and the state is led by whoever has the leadership, in this case the presidency of the republic.
This referendum will be the 7th since 1999, when the first one was convened for the call to a constituent assembly. It was followed by the referendum for the approval of the 1999 Constitution, then a union referendum in the 2000. In 2004, the opposition called for a recall referendum against the President Chavez. In 2007, the referendum to reform the Constitution, and in 2009, the referendum to approve the constitutional amendment.
We are in the time of the Bolivarian Revolution of Venezuela. And the Bolivarian Revolution has a mechanism for consulting the people, which is the participative, protagonist, and decisive democracy. That is why we have had more than 29 electoral processes and more than 7 consultative processes.
One of the political rights expressly included in the Constitution are referendums as a form of participation, and one of them, provided for in an Article 71, is precisely the consultative referendum. The consultative referendum, which is a figure that allows the nation to make fundamental decisions, is born from the concept of sovereignty. That is to say, that the power resides in the people.
With this process, there will be 30 elections in which the Venezuelan people have taken part in the last 25 years. This one seeks to ratify the current popular will on a centennial issue. Gladys Quesada, TeleSUR, Caracas, Venezuela.
In Argentina, mothers of Plaza de Mayo march as they have always done every Thursday since the military dictatorship in the 70s at Mayo Square in Buenos Aires. Only this time they sent a clear message against the government program of President-elect Javier Milei. The mothers who first began marching in their search for those who were disappeared during the last military dictatorship, in this first mobilization against the president-elect, invited Argentines to oppose the adjustment policies that the far-right Javier Milei wants to implement. In the days after being elected, Milei announced a sharp cut in public spending through the closure of ministries and the privatization of public companies. Also during the demonstration, the mothers marched holding signs with the slogan, "No payment to the foreign debt."
We are not going to stop to think too much about why people voted what they voted. What we do have to think about is what we are going to do, comrades, and the first certainty is that we are going to be in the streets, always, always.
And United Nations General Secretary Antonio Guterres and Chilean President Gabriel Boric toured Chile's Antarctic territory on Thursday to highlight its importance in the fight against climate change. From the Antarctic Air Base, Presidente Frei, they visited the Collins Glacier, Copaitic Island, Rada Covadonga, as well as 3 of the 10 Chilean bases. COP28, the most important meeting on climate change, will be held from November 30th to December 12th in Dubai. Boric pointed out that Antarctica contains 90% of the planet's ice and 77% of the available potable water, so its seas are key to global climate regulation. Guterres warned that developed countries face a perfect storm with growing inequalities, climate chaos, conflict and hunger. He also called for an ambitious, credible and fair outcome at COP28 to keep the temperature rise limit at 1.5 degrees Celsius and protect those most affected. And we go now to Ireland, where the stabbing of 4 people, 3 of them minors, has triggered disorder in the streets of the Irish capital. The rally quickly turned into attacks against the Irish police and acts of vandalism, such as setting fire to police cars, buses, and streetcars. The protest led to the closure of several streets in Dublin until 10 p.m. when the police managed to regain control. Irish President Michelle Higgins expressed his concern for the victims of this horrific multiple stabbing, while complimenting the Irish police for their work in containing the disturbances. In France, activists protested violence against women in Paris on Friday, calling on President Emmanuel Macron to support a bill that would make consent central to the legal definition of rape or sexual assault. The demonstration took place on the eve of the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women. The proposed draft, which is under discussion in the European Parliament, has been opposed by some countries, including France. The European Commission proposed last year to harmonize the criminalization of rape across the bloc on the strict basis of lack of consent and to introduce a common set of penalties. Only 13 EU member states use consent-based definitions to criminalize rape. France, for example, says rape can be considered to have occurred when an act of sexual penetration or organ genital act is performed on a person by force, coercion, threat, or surprise. And United Nations reports at least 2,480 migrants dead and missing in the Mediterranean. The United Nations Missing Migrants Project warned that the year 2023 records the highest rate of deaths and disappearances since 2018, when more than 2,300 victims were recorded. Since the start of the project in 2014, the deaths of more than 59,700 people have been recorded worldwide, with the central Mediterranean being the deadliest route, with at least 22,400 victims. The deadliest year so far was 2016, with 8,078 dead and missing. And we have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to join our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience, you can scan the QR code on screen to join directly and share the link to reach more people. Constant news coverage of Latin America and the Caribbean, as well as the rest of the world. Stay connected and informed with TeleSUR. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back. The leader of Niger's ruling military junta National Council, General Omar Tiani, met on Thursday with his counterparts from Mali and Burkina Faso in his first international visits since he took the presidency in July. Niger's neighboring countries, Mali and Burkina Faso, ruled by military leaders who took power in 2020 and 2022 respectively, have promised solidarity with the coup leaders of Niger. After a brief visit to Mali, Tiani arrived in Burkina Faso on Thursday afternoon for a friendship and working visit with Captain Ibrahim Traore. The two leaders discussed issues common to both countries, in particular the fight against terrorism and socio-economic development, according to a statement from the presidency of Burkina Faso.
Burkina Faso, Mali,
Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger decided to forge the alliance of the Sahel states. This alliance is the consecration of our determination to regain our sovereignty, the sovereignty of the Sahel states, so that the Sahel will no longer be a zone of insecurity, but a zone of prosperity for the sake of our people.
In southeastern Kenya, the flooding of the Muoni River in the district of Mukeni left 15 people dead while others remain missing. The Red Cross reported that over 15,000 houses were affected and 97 hectares of crops suffered irreparable damage, along with the loss of more than 1,000 heads of cattle. In this regard, the United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs stated that East Africa could experience heavy rainfall due to El Niño phenomenon. And in Indonesia, a large number of Burmese Rohingya refugees have arrived over the last weeks on the shores of Aceh province in the west of the country. Authorities said the refugees arrived aboard several boats from Bangladesh and were quickly relocated to camps. Meanwhile, the arrival of the people have raised the mistrust of the local population, who have urged the authorities to send them back to the sea. The situation has been strongly criticized by human rights organizations, which warn of a violation of refugee rights. Rohingya migrants are a Muslim ethnic minority in Myanmar who are persecuted in their home country and are now fleeing the recent violent outbreak between the military junta and pro-democracy groups. The government of China reaffirmed its commitment to the Belt and Road Initiative and urged participants to push the measure forward in the coming decades. A document from the leading group for the promotion of the Belt and Road projects the main commercial lines that will be implemented in the coming months to consolidate the structure of the initiative. The statement also details an action plan that focuses on the different commercial sectors to increase profits, improve connectivity, and cooperation in multiple sectors. The Belt and Road mega project establishes a trans-regional interconnection network through infrastructure investment that encompasses cooperation in various sectors of the economy, society, and culture. And China is offering France, Germany, Italy, the Netherlands, Spain, and Malaysia the possibility of a visa-free travel for 15 days. This was announced by Foreign Minister Wang Yi at a meeting with French Foreign Minister Catherine Colonna at Beijing University.
facilitate people-to-people exchanges between China and France, China has decided to implement a visa waiver policy for French citizens coming to China for short stays of 15 days or less. Now that the terror of the epidemic is gone, we are delighted to see an increase in mutual visits, contacts and exchanges between our two peoples.
And like this, we have come to the end of this news brief. But before saying goodbye, we want to thank our Caribbean audience, especially the audience of Trinidad and Tobago. We are pleased to share our newscast and contribute to provide an alternative news source of the latest world events. You can find these and many other stories at our website at telesurenglish.net. And also join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, my name is Belén de los Santos. Thank you for watching.